Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Nick
I'm Vikings.
from Top Notch Sports, and today we're going to go to the 2023 NFL mock draft for the 32 GM content creator draft that we did on our channel. It was Saturday, April 15th. 32 of you were competing in War Room, trying to do the best things. Now, Vikings, you were the co-GM. But now you're the interim GM. I think we're going to assign you to the official GM role for the Minnesota Vikings. What do you think?
I think that's great, and I appreciate it.
Let me ask you this. What did you think, without giving any spoilers, what did you think about the whole experience as a whole?
I thought it was pretty cool. It was definitely unique. I've never done anything like it. And just having like a GM for every like team, it maybe made us really feel like we were actually like part of the actual NFL.
Absolutely. And again, in a live event, right? Some guys get taken before, that you think they're gonna. Some guys get taken after. They might fly down the board. And another thing too, you're not doing one of those AI ones where you're versing the computer. Human beings, right? Us, we all kind of like those physical traits. We like the guys that run 4.4. We like the guys that are 6'5". We like the big physical freaks. And again, an AI might not detect that as like, a unique guy, and they might have it, going in the sixth round. But in a draft like this, you might see someone like that go as early as the fourth or the third round, 2 to 3 rounds earlier than you would see an AI take them. So again, it was a cool experience. I think you guys did a phenomenal job. We'll break down your grades. But before we do that, plug your page, let everyone know what your page is and what you do there.
All right, so my page on Instagram is Vikings Report _, and I started right before the season started, just like kind of as the end of preseason, and just like a new upcoming page. I mean, I'm a high school student, just looking for what I want to do in the future, and I could definitely see that being something on reporting with the Vikings, but just something I'm trying. It's new to me, and this is also new to me. I haven't really done anything like this.
Yeah, and like I said, I think you did a really good job. You picked a lot of guys that were, needs for your team and good prospects. So again, we're gonna get into that, and no, what, screw it, we'll get into that right now. 180, 180 set. All right, let's start with these two. Kevin O'Connell, Kirk Cousins. What do you think about these two guys?
All right, so starting with Kirk, obviously he's been here for a decent amount of seasons now. He's performed very well in the regular season from like what I can tell, but in the postseason, kind of been shaky, especially against the Giants last year. I mean, season on the line, he threw like a 4 yard or something check down to TJ Hawkinson to end our season. But I mean, he's been really solid in the regular season, and uh yeah, it just hasn't really translated to the postseason. But I mean, he's in a contract year now, and I could definitely see us not bringing him back. But if we don't bring him back, I don't really know where we go. Like, do we might draft a QB this year, we might not. And then Kevin O'Connell, I mean, he came in and had one of, if not the best seasons for a first year Vikings head coach, one of our best seasons ever in the regular season. But I mean, first year started off pretty strong, him and Quessy, the new GM. Uh, yeah, I think there's a lot to learn because the playoffs didn't go too well, but I think we have a bright future with him, and him being a former quarterback, he can help out young guys that we draft, and he can help out Kirk with whatever he's looking for like help on.
For
And yeah,
sure. For sure. I mean, again, like you said, Kirk Cousins has been, a slightly above average quarterback now for years. You guys got a lot of talent over there in Minnesota. T.J. Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson. You had Adam Thielen. I know he's no longer there, but you had him. Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison. So many guys. We can go on and on and on and on. I mean, the amount of talent that you guys have on that offense is pretty dang, it's a really good room, to say the least. And Kevin O'Connell, like I said, came in year one, looked really good. A pass first kind of a coach. He was a former quarterback, so that all makes sense. But like I said, he can either probably fix the things that Kirk Cousins is struggling with, or maybe even develop a young quarterback. And again, if that's the route you guys ultimately end up going. You guys did draft Kellen Mond a few seasons ago. I was actually decently high on him. He never panned out. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But, it's so on and so forth. So, all right, we'll wait and say there's those two. Now let's get into the next slide. Here's our grading scale. Okay, there's 4 things that we grade on: trades, drafting, talent, and needs. Trading. Did you win your trades? If you did, you'll receive a decently high grade for that. Draft. Did you wait and let guys fall to you? Did you get good value where you picked that, et cetera, et cetera? Talent. Did you draft good talent, at the spots that you chose? And last but not least, need. Were the guys that you drafted, did they fill in a team need? Now, our grade scale is one of the most interesting things you probably ever witnessed in your life. We're going to start with the C plus category. A C plus in real life is not a 50, okay? Or 50%. These are more accurate, our numbers here. So you're going to want to look at that for accuracy to see how you compare to other people. But again, in our grade scale, a 50%, which is an F in real life, is a C plus on our grade scale, which is weird, but that's what it is. Another example I like to use: a B plus on our grade scale is a 75. In real life, is probably an 88, 89. So understand, if you get a low score number-wise, you probably did actually all right. So the lower the score is not that bad. I mean, again, a 75 in real life is nothing to be proud of. But hell, it's a B plus on our grade scale, which is really good. Does all this make sense to you?
Yeah.
All right. So again, don't be frustrated with the bad numbers. And last but not least, another thing I want to mention: very few people earned an A minus or higher in any category. So if you got all Bs or something in Bs, then that is a pretty dang good draft, because very, very few people have earned an A minus or higher. So now let's hop into the next slide. All right, here you go. Here's your actual depth chart, okay? As you can see, the guy listed in green is a guy that you brought in, this season, a big money guy, Marcus Davenport. Just talk about this slide a little bit. Let the people know what you think about this roster right now as is.
All right, so I'll start on the offensive side of the ball. Up front, we have our 5 linemen: Darisaw, Cleveland, Bradbury, Ingram, and O'Neal. Darisaw and O'Neal it's probably one of the best tackle groups in the NFL. They're both, Darisaw is pretty young. O'Neal, he's into his bigger contract, but Darisaw is looking to be one of the best offensive tackles in the league in the next coming seasons. And O'Neal's phenomenal on the other end too. And then moving to the guards, Cleveland and Ingram. Cleveland, he was drafted a few years ago out of Boise State. He's been probably an average guard. But Ingram, he was a rookie last year, had problems stepping on Kirk's foot a few times, and was pretty shaky, to say the least. And he's looking for a comeback year basically, but I don't know. He's definitely a below average guard. And then center Garrett Bradbury, everyone thought he was gone. Former first round pick, was not playing good, but last year had a phenomenal year. He was definitely a top 10 center last year. And that's something we really needed on the O-line, because the O-line's been a problem of ours for basically our whole existence. We've never really had a top tier O-line. And then moving to the tight end, TJ Hawkinson, he's one of the best in the league, probably top 5. He definitely changed our offense when he got here. Then moving outwards, Jefferson, Osborne, Naylor. Jefferson, not much to say. He's, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, he's the best receiver in the league. Had one of the best seasons ever last year. Naylor on the outside, he's a rookie from last year, coming into his second year out of Michigan State. He didn't really play that much. He was our 4th or 5th receiver. Him and Jalen Rager were fighting out for that 4th spot. but he didn't really play much. And when he did play, though, he was phenomenal. And then Osborne in the slot, he's he was our wide receiver 3 from last year. In my opinion, he was one of the better wide receiver 3s. He was pretty good. Um, and like in games that Thielen didn't show up in or Jefferson was getting locked down, he was definitely a good safety target to hit to get open. And then Delvin Cook in the backfield. I mean, I don't really know if he's gonna be on the team much longer. He's posting stuff on social media that's making people think he's gone. Rumors saying he's gone. I mean, he's been one of the best running backs in the league ever since he got drafted. But I mean, injuries have kind of like taken over his career. He can't really stay healthy, but who knows? Maybe he's still here at the start of the year and he can have a great season for us. And then obviously Kirk Cousins, quarterback, already talked about him a little bit in his contract year. But I do think he performs very well this year. Even if we do draft the quarterback, I still see him starting unless we do move him. I see him starting over the rookie and developing the rookie, but I mean, it's kind of hard for me to say that he's going to be here next year when he's probably going to want a payday. And then moving to the defensive side of the ball, the safeties, Bynum and Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith been in the league for a long time. Rumors of us cutting him, but we ended up restructuring his deal. He's here to stay. He's a phenomenal player. And then moving on to Bynum. Bynum and Lewis Seen, our first round pick last year, they're going to be fighting it out for the other safety spot in training camp. I gave the edge to Bynum here, but I could definitely see Seen taking over that spot. Seen is he's a obviously young player. Same with Bynum, but I mean they're kind of like opposite players. Like Seen's out there to hit, Bynum's out there to like kind of cover.
Yeah.
And it's good that you have two different types of safeties. They can play in different scenarios. And then to the linebackers, Jordan Hicks. He was in my opinion, he was better than Kendricks last year. I mean, Kendricks was shaky, but Hicks was very consistent and reliable in inside the box. And then Asamoah, he did not play much last year. I mean, when you had a pretty solid linebacker core, you weren't really going to see a lot from third round selection from the year prior. But he's coming into this year. He's looking to perform highly in the starting linebacker position. I mean, when he did play last year, he was phenomenal. There were games where he led the team in tackles when he played under like 50% of the snaps on defense, which is something that was just unheard of. And then moving to the outside linebackers, Danielle Hunter, Marcus Davenport, and then obviously Zadarius Smith too. They're all going to be subbing in and out this year. Davenport newly brought in. I really think he can have a great year for us, especially with being able to learn from two of the best outside linebackers in the game, Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith. I think he can improve on from what his game was. He kind of had a down year last year. I could see him going back to what he kind of used to be, where he had that very good season, especially because obviously the mentorship. And also Zadarius Smith could be gone, which means he does receive a lot more snaps. But then Danielle Hunter, I mean, there's also rumors of him being gone. Doesn't really like his current contract. And I don't know. It's kind of up in the air if him and Zadarius will be back.
Yeah.
And moving to corners, Byron Murphy in the slot, newly brought in. He was a phenomenal steal for us in free agency. We really needed a corner. We didn't really have anyone. I mean, Andrew Booth and Caleb Evans, two very unproven corners. Both were rookies last year. Andrew Booth was a second-round pick and Caleb Evans in the fourth. Booth was out for like the majority of the year. And Evans went out late in the year too after having terrible concussion issues. But I mean, Evans has proved that he is capable of being a starting corner in this league when he was playing. Booth, on the other hand, he has not got a lot of action. I mean, when we had our injuries last year at corner, he came in and I think he played one, maybe two games before he went out. He didn't really have much time. He didn't really guard the top receiver. and he was pretty shaky in those circumstances. But I'm a big fan of Booth. I think he can. I think he can become a good starting corner in this league, and maybe even an elite corner. I mean, coming out of college, before he ended up dropping in the draft, I mean, he was a like late uh teens to early 20s pick before he fell to like I think 34 to us in the second round.
Yeah,
But yeah, that and then the D line, Phillips, Tonga, and Lowry. Tonga, very, very, very unproven. He took over as our starting nose tackle late in the season. Lowry, he was brought in from the Packers, I believe. Yes, the Packers. And Phillips, he played 1 year with us last year. He was pretty good in the limited time he was here. But yeah, it's a very unproven D line. Hopefully they can prove me wrong though, because I don't think they will be that good. But who knows? Anything's possible.
for sure. And a few things I want to mention real fast, like you said. So, this team right here is a team that, you know, I have a lot of these guys ranked pretty high coming out of college. A lot of young, decently young guys that you've drafted over the last few years. Let's start with people like Andrew Booth and Byron Murphy. Byron Murphy in the 2019 draft class, he's my fifth ranked corner. You bring him in. Andrew Booth last year, like I said, you said he didn't get a lot of snaps. My third ranked cornerback coming out of last year's draft class. I'm hoping that he can pan out for you guys. Brian Asamoah, right? Linebacker, last year's draft class. My sixth ranked linebacker. Again, somebody that, like you said, he didn't play a lot, but I had ranked pretty high. Now on the offense side of the ball, Dalvin Cook coming out when he came out that same year, CMC and Joe Mixon and Leonard Fournette came out. My number two ranked running back, coming out of the draft class. And Lewis Cine, third ranked safety. I know he's not listed here, but he was my third rank. And Justin Jefferson. Well, let's start with Hodgson was my number ranked tight end, coming out the year he came out. And Justin Jefferson, okay. I don't know if anyone remembers. Do you remember who came out that draft class? Do you remember or no?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. It was the year of Henry Ruggs, CeeDee Lamb, and Jerry Jeudy. Nobody mentioned Justin Jefferson. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll be honest with you. I had him lower than I should have, but I had him higher than a lot of other people. I had him ranked at number 4. I had him over Jeudy. I had him up there. And again, most analysts you watch on TV had this guy around 7, 6, 8. I had him at 4. So yeah, I missed. He was probably should have been number 1, but nobody had him number 1. Everyone else likes to hide things. I don't hide things. I had him at number 4. It was higher than most people had him. And again, he's proven me right. I loved his tape. The dude was phenomenal at LSU. And again, he's proven to be a really good player for you guys here, too. So you guys got a lot of talent. Let me ask you this real fast. Biggest weakness and biggest strength, be quick with it. Who do you got?
Biggest weakness is, in my opinion, our whole D line. I mean, there's not gonna be much like run stopping there. Like obviously they're all pretty big guys. Harrison Phillips was a nose tackle, moved out to D tackle last year. Uh they're not like any crazy guys you're gonna like see on that line. They're all kind of just average and below average players. And then biggest strength has got to be our either our edge rushing or our passing game, because our passing game is, I mean, on paper it's one of the best there is.
For sure. For sure. All right. So that's that. That's these guys. Now let's look at the moves that you made as a general manager. All right. Here are the moves that you made as a general manager. So I'm going to go over the trades that occurred during the draft or before the draft that you guys have made. First thing is you guys received running back Trey Sermon, a 2023, the 37th overall pick, the 46th overall pick, the 76th overall pick, 117 and 123. You gave away Dalvin Cook, Zadarius Smith, the 30th overall pick, the 87th overall pick, and 158. So when I look at this, all right, you definitely downgraded at running back. We know that, right? I mean, again, trading wise, I'm not saying you got Alexander Madison, but you went from Dalvin Cook to Trey Sermon. So that's a downgrade. You gave up Zadarius Smith. I'm sorry. Okay. Again, decent player, but you got 2 great edge rushers already. Now let's see what you did. You moved down 7 spots. You pick up a 46, a 76, a 117, and a 123. That's pretty dang good. That's pretty dang good. Let me hear what your thoughts are on this.
All right. So, well, my thoughts on this, I mean, so obviously we moved down 7 spots, but I mean, we still had 23 because we picked up number 30 in the Cook trade. So we kept 23 and we managed to get 37 and 46. It was phenomenal in my opinion. We only had 5 picks going into this draft, not a lot of draft capital, and we managed to turn it into a lot of draft capital.
Absolutely. I mean, look how many mid-round picks you guys acquired, from moving down a few spots. So, all right, that's that. So ultimately, you do move on from Cook, but let's see what you do in the draft here. So to the right here now, we got purple and blue. Guys in purple are guys that, are the original draft picks. Guys in blue are picks that you acquired or that were your unoriginal picks. Let's start with the first guy, defensive tackle Brian Brisset that you drafted in the first round. What do you think about him?
Yeah, so I think he's a day one starter. I mean, I was pretty high on him. I mean, Jalen Carter obviously is up there, Kalijah, uh, Cansey or whatever. Yeah, he was up there too. But obviously Brian Brsee, he's he's a big guy. He's can fill the need of our defensive line, and he has great mentors on the line in Lowry and Phillips. And yeah, I think he'd be a solid piece here.
For sure. 6'5", 298, 32-inch arms, 4'8", 640. Ton of untapped potential. Like you said, Harrison Phillips is a mentor to him. Hopefully he could, teach him up. He looked very long and lengthy on film. Does a great job on stunts. He's my number 2 ranked defensive tackle. So this pick right here, I mean, this is a good move for you guys. Bring in, a need of your guys, which is an interior defensive lineman, and you're bringing in one of my top guys. Second round, you go back, you go out and you draft quarterback Hendon Hooker. What do you think about Hendon Hooker?
All right, so Hendon Hooker, he was my fourth rated quarterback over Will Levis due to the fact that Will Levis, I mean, he's just like he's the type of quarterback where he kind of reminds me a lot of Zach Wilson, where he's a lot of uh a lot of pre-draft, postseason pre-draft, kind of looking at his tape, thinking, oh, he should be going up here, going top 5 overall. I don't see his game translating to the NFL. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, I like Hooker's game. Obviously, he's a little bit older, but I think if he develops sitting behind Kirk for 1 year, he could be a great starter in this league one day.
I agree. Hendon Hooker is also my number 4 guy. You get him in the second round. I also have him over Will Levis. He's a guy to me, 6'4", 218. That's unofficial. I don't have his official numbers on me right now. A lot of scouts can't agree on this guy. Some people have him ranked high. Some people have him ranked low. The main concern about him is him coming off the injury. I'll be honest with you, his tape, some of the best tape I've ever seen. The only thing I did not like about his tape is that most of his passing is vertical, just, 4 verts constantly. If any of you guys play Madden, it's all verticals, vertical, vertical. And the only other thing I don't really like about him is that a lot of it was in breaking routes. I didn't see him throw like an out route, a corner route, a post corner. None of those things really. But man, this dude has mobility. He has an arm. He has good pocket awareness, pocket presence. To me, he's a great choice. And again, for a team like the Vikings that's loaded with talent, damn, if they give this guy an opportunity to let him grow a year or two, oh my God, this guy could be phenomenal. I really do believe it. I think this guy could step in day one and be all right. But again, he doesn't need to be in Minnesota, and you got him in the second round, so that's great value. Third round pick, interior offensive lineman, center most likely, John Michael Schmitz. What do you think about him?
Yeah, so Schmidt's obviously from Minnesota, so he's not really going that far, but pick him up. Uh, Starting right away, he would start at right guard over Ingram, who's not very good. Definitely an upgrade and something we really need on the O line because it's really only our missing piece on the O line to have a pretty good O line when we bring in John Michael Schmitz. Yeah, I mean, you said yeah, he is a center, but I could see him moving out to a guard, filling in that position. But who
Absolutely.
knows? Maybe when Bradbury's gone after his contract, he could move to center. We bring in a new right guard. Who knows?
Yeah, like right now for you guys got a center. So, like you said, he might just start off as a guard. To me, all right, third round, absolutely love this pick. You know, a lot of people have this guy ranked really high. I'm not as high on him as most people are. He's not my number one ranked center. You know, a lot of people have this guy number one. I believe I have him ranked as my number two or even number three ranked center. You know, and interior offensive line in general, I think I have him. I got to see real fast. I don't have him right now. Where the hell is he? Uh, but what I do know about him, yeah, I have him as number 6 overall interior lineman, and you got this guy in the third round. So again, great value there. He's a guy that the reason why he fell down my board a little bit, he gets blown back a little bit too much. And again, it might be because he is he's a center and he doesn't get out of his stance that fast after he snaps the ball. Gets blown back sometimes. I said there's a lot of bright spots, but also some dark spots. He does a really good job getting to the second level and stealing defenders. He's pretty good at pass blocking, but there are some times where he gets blown back and tossed to the ground very easily. So again, he has his pros, he has his cons. At guard, he's probably honestly better suited. And for the Vikings, again, this could turn out to be a pretty good pick. All right, let's do your next few picks all together. Trey Hodges-Tomlinson, Bryce Ford-Wheaton, Cam Jones, and Brandon Joseph. Sum them up pretty quickly. What do you got on each of those guys?
All right, so Trey Hodges-Tomlinson, cornerback out of TCU. He's a smaller guy, but I mean, he could really fit into this cornerback room very good. Obviously it's a very young cornerback room. Uh, slot in as, I mean, if you're talking about Murphy in the slot him as the third or fourth corner on the outside. I think he could really benefit from that. And Bryce Ford Wheaton, he was actually one of my favorite players in the draft, not like overall like talent wise, obviously, but just as a prospect. I mean, he's a massive dude who runs fast. He reminds me a lot of DK Metcalf. Cam Jones, he's a linebacker that I really like. I think he could come in here and be the third or fourth linebacker in this group. Learn from Hicks, maybe be a starter in a few years when Hicks is gone. And then Brandon Joseph, I mean, when you have one of the best mentors in the league, it's pretty good. He could definitely slot in as our backup strong safety in a few years. Obviously Harrison Smith's going to be here for a bit, but when he's gone, who's going to fill that spot? We don't really know right now. And I could definitely see him being that guy.
For sure. So, all right. So that's those guys. Any regrets or things that you really liked about your draft that you had, trading draft, anything like that, or you're pretty solid?
Uh a regret, maybe we should have traded up in the first round and selected a receiver, but I mean, the receivers were all going off the board pretty quick once the first one went off. And we were a little hesitant to pull the trigger, so we just decided instead of picking one up in say the second or third round, we could just wait to the fourth.
Absolutely. And again, like you said, you got a guy that you think that could be very good for this team. So, all right, that's that. Let's go to the next slide. Here we are. Here's Vikings GM moves. So here are the moves that you made. We plugged in the guys that you drafted that you think will be starters day one. Let me know a little bit about this. The guys in blue, the guys in green. Did you feel like you filled in most of your needs, or how are you feeling with this roster right now?
All right, so first talk about the guys in green. Murphy and Davenport, they're great. I like that. And moving to the guys we drafted and who they're gonna be taking over. Uh Brian Brissy, he's taking over for Tonga. I love that move. Tonga, I mean, he was pretty good for us when he did play in the limited amount of snaps, but I don't really think he's a starting defensive lineman in this league. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Bryce Ford Wheaton, I think he'd take over that wide receiver 4 spot ahead of Jalen Rager. I mean, Jalen Rager was lost sometimes out there when the ball came to him, and Bryce Ford Wheaton, he's got crazy potential in my opinion, and learning from, I mean, the best receiver in the game. I mean, that's very good for a young prospect who has potential to have all the talent in the world. And then John Michael Schmitz uh filling in at the starting right guard position. I mean, he's got some very good linemen around him to teach him anything he needs to learn. And then also Lewis Seen slotting as the starting safety next to Harrison Smith. I mean, Seen's second year player. coming off of an injury. I think he can have a very good season and prove that he was worthy of that first round selection last year. And then Alex Madison taking over for Delvin Cook. I like that move. There was times where Madison outplayed Cook when Cook went down with injuries. And I think a lot of Vikings fans have been saying it for a while that Madison, when Cook is gone, can take over and possibly be better than Cook.
Absolutely. I mean, again, every time he touches a ball, he looks good. Now, again, whether or not the defense plays differently when he's on the field, that's a different story. All right, we look at this team, very solid. You filling many things, like you said, the receiving room. You're filling in Bryce for Wheaton. You got a good tight end in T.J. Hawkinson still. You got Justin Jefferson. You got Madison filling in for Dalvin Cook. You look at your defense, Brian Brisset. You got Marcus Davenport and Danielle Hunter rushing off the edge. Byron Murphy with Andrew Booth Jr. and Caleb Evans. Lewis Seen, who I like, Brian Asamoah and Harrison Smith. Jordan Hicks is always solid. This is a pretty dang good roster. Last year, you guys went 13-4, finished first in the NFC North. Let me ask you this. If they make the moves that you made on Thursday, okay, what do you think the record is of this team? And not only that, how far do you think they make in the playoffs? But again, I want to make this clear. Just because you think your team might have gotten better doesn't mean that they're going to have a better record, okay? Because, again, the teams in your division might be getting tougher too. So what's your record prediction, and how far do you think they go in the playoffs if they make it?
All right, so my record prediction for this year would probably be 11-6 or 12-5. I think we do win the North again. And the only reason I say that we lose more games is we do lose some great players on the defensive side of the ball. And but I mean bringing in Brian Flores is amazing for this defense. He can help all these young players develop. And then I think we win a game in the wild card round, but then I do think we will lose in the divisional round. But I mean, I think this team has enough talent to be better than last year's team when it comes to the postseason. But I do think we will finish a little bit worse in the regular season.
I 100% agree. I feel like it's fair to say 11-6 as the Lions, the Bears, and the Pat. I mean, I know the Packers just got rid of Rodgers. I actually don't mind Jordan Love. I know a lot of people hate him. I don't think Jordan Love's that bad. So when I look at that team and, they got a boatload of picks for Rodgers, plus you got the Lions and the Bears who made a lot of, spent a lot of money in free agency. I do feel like it's fair to say you guys will probably drop 2 games this season compared to last year. So 11-6 is fair. I also agree with your playoff prediction, probably going right around the divisional round. And who knows? Like I said, you piece a game or 2 together. Next thing you know, you guys are in the Super Bowl. So, all right, that's that. Now, real fast, we're going to compare this team to the real life team. This is your team, real life team. Your team, real life team. Your team, real life team. Let's see the changes. Instead of Tonga, you got Brise. Instead of Ingram, you got Schmitz. Instead of you add Wheaton as well. Instead of Cook, you bring in Madison. But then last but not least, instead of buying them, you're starting Lewis Seen. So again, you're making a lot of moves. But let me ask you about this now. Come Thursday, okay, this is the team that you're dealing with. What do you think they ultimately do on Thursday in the first round?
I mean, I've seen a lot of things saying that we are looking to trade up. If one of the top 4 quarterbacks is available, 4 being Young, Stroud, Richardson, and Levis in their books, not in my books, but in their books. They say there's been reports of us trading up to pick 2, which I've seen, and us taking Stroud. But there's also been reports of us trading up to pick 10 with the Eagles if Richardson starts to fall. But ultimately I think we might stay put at 23 and draft a receiver. I've seen a lot of things saying Jordan Addison would love to be a Viking. I've also seen that we're very interested in Zay Flowers and Quentin Johnson. But I mean, who knows? There's also a possibility of us trading down, and maybe drafting Hendon Hooker in the second. But ultimately, I think we trade up. I think we trade up in the draft. If we draft a quarterback, I do not know, but I think it'll either be a quarterback or a wide receiver.
All right, so let me ask you this. Realistic but dream scenario, who do you guys draft tomorrow night?
Realistic but dream scenario, I say jumping to pick 10 and picking Richardson. I mean, will he fall? Maybe, but I don't know. I mean, do teams want to take the risk? I mean, he's one of the most risky prospects there is. I mean, his passing game is not good, but he's one of the best athletes there is in the draft. But I would really like to see us jump up and try to take him.
Absolutely. So you are really hoping for a jump up. And like I said, if you guys can do that, that would be great. And again, like I said, let them, grow under Cousins. All right. Now we're going to hop into the final slide, the final grade slide. All right. The moment of truth, your final grade. Okay. Now, again, I want to make this clear. This is not just me grading. This is 4 people. It's not Commissioner Nutt or Greg either. It's 4 other guys plus me. We sat down, we did these grades, and we figured it out. So it's a consensus thing. Again, it's very rare you pull any A's. If you do pull an A- or higher, you're on an elite tier. And again, if you get B pluses, B's, or even B minuses across the board, those are really good too, because ultimately that means you're probably within the top 15, GMs, on this thing. So let's see what we got. So the first grade is a trade. Here we go. B plus for trades. Okay. Again, the reason why is because, all right, yeah, you moved on from Dalvin Cook, but as we all know, running backs slowly, deteriorate. And, Dalvin Cook's getting up there in age. So if you can pull off and get a first round pick like you did in this draft, that's really, really good. Plus, you moved down a few picks, right, from 30 to 37 you went, and you acquired a lot of draft capital in those middle rounds. So a B plus, what do you think? Fair, not fair? Do you want to rebut it? What do you think?
I think it's fair. The only thing I'd say about the Zadarius Smith trade is Zadarius Smith, he was non-existent in the second half of the season. Halfway through the season, he had 9.5 sacks. He finished the year with 10. He was not really there for us when we actually needed him. And that's one of the reasons I decided to trade him.
For sure. Absolutely. So there's that. That's why you got that. And again, that's the consensus. Now, again, halfway through the season or next year at the end of the season, we'll go back, we'll reevaluate. And again, we might even bump these up higher. So we'll see what happens. All right. The next one, draft. The draft. Now, this is letting people fall to you / going up and getting guys, reaching versus not reaching. Overall, they said a B. You went out, you got a guy who again, me personally, I'm battling for you guys. I'm trying to get this grade higher. Brian Brisset, love that pick. He's my number 2 defensive tackle. John Michael Schmitz, he get him in the 3rd round. That's pretty dang good value. So ultimately, they went with a B. What do you think there?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I would have liked to be a little bit higher in the draft so I could take a better player, but I think I picked the best player that fell to me in the first round and
Absolutely.
in the second round too. But yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
All right, let's go to the 3rd one. Talent's a B plus. Okay, look, again, I'm gonna just tell you what I think personally. Brian Brisset is my number 2. You get him in the 1st round. Hendon Hooker is my number 4. Best remaining guy on the board. We saw Will Levis go before him. You get Hendon Hooker. Then you get John Michael Schmidt. Some people would argue he's the best center in the draft class. I don't have him there, but I do have him as, still one of the top ranked interior offensive linemen. You get him in the 3rd round. Okay, so just those top 3 picks, I mean, you're getting really good talent at your spots. So what do you think about the B plus?
I think that's fair. I don't really have much to say about that. I think that's a perfect grade for that. I mean, did I reach a little too high on some of my late round guys? Yeah, probably. But they were some of my top prospects, even if most others wouldn't really agree with that.
And like I said, listen, that I want you to do that because again, even though it might be your top ranked prospect now and maybe not the guys I'm working with, right? Their top prospect, you can have the final laugh here when it's all said and done. And at the end of the year, when we reevaluate, if you hit on one of your guys, holy crap, could this completely flip the table? So again, draft your guys. And again, none of this matters. What matters is going to be the reevaluation period. All right. And last but not least, the final one. Need was a B. And I remember their specific thing here. They go out and say, well, you bring in Hendon Hooker, he's not going to help them win a championship right now. And, you get rid of Dalvin Cook, who's not going to help you win But to me, I understood the Dalvin Cook move. I also understand the Hendon Hooker move. But their whole thing was he a need right now? And I could understand their argument. But again, I understand your point here is that let's get the best quarterback on the board. He fell all the way to us in the second round. We're not reaching. We're just grabbing the best guy on the board. So what do you think about the B?
I think that's fair. Obviously, quarterback's not a need for us right now, but next year, I don't see us having high enough of a pick to pick someone who's going to start for us because, like I said earlier, Cousins is more than likely gone. If we hadn't picked someone in the draft, our starter for next year would be Nick Mullins.
Yeah.
Unless we pick someone up in free agency. But then again, I don't really see us doing that because we're not going to have too much cap next year due to us keep on pushing Kirk Cousins' contract down the line. We push, I think, another 15 to 20 mil into next season too, and he won't even be on the roster at that time. But yeah, I think a B's fair.
All right, so now we're going to look at the final things here. You ultimately earned 750 GM points. You know how to use those, correct?
Yes.
Okay, down the line, like I said, you get to spend those in free agency for next season, or you can roll them over to the season after if your team doesn't have a draft, cap space. Final score 71. Again, I know that looks low, but ultimately that ends up being a B. Again, this is a really good draft. B is probably right around, like I said, right around that average to above average spot. And again, you guys even really have a high draft pick. So hopefully everyone enjoyed. Now we're going to go back on. We're going to talk a little bit again, and then we'll sum this up. So stay tuned. Hello, welcome. All right, we are back. So overall, draft grades, experience, everything. What do you think as a whole?
Okay, so starting with the draft grades, I mean, it was fair. I would have liked to see us have a higher grade, but I mean, I can't really argue with it too much. My opinion on stuff's definitely different than the people who voted on the actual grades because obviously I'm gonna have some bias. And then I mean the experience, it was one of the coolest things I've done since I've started running this page, probably the coolest. Yeah, it was great. Obviously getting to talk to other teams, make actual trades, feel like you were the actual GM. It was a great experience.
Awesome and cool. And like I said, we're going to be happy to have you back next year. Plug your page one more time. Tell the people about your page again.
All right. So my page, Vikings Report _ on Instagram. Bringing you some of the best content on the app. Trying to expand to Twitter as well. All their social media platforms. Just trying to do what I love and support the team that I love. Just give me a follow.
Absolutely. Give this man a follow. Again, you did a great job here today. We would love to have you back on in the future. And hey, again, I can't wait for the reevaluation period. And hey, today it comes out the official, rankings for the GMs. I have no idea who's where yet. I was working on it before. Don't know where you are, but you'll see tonight at some point. I'll tag all you guys in it. I think I'm only allowed to tag 20. So if you make the top 20, which I'm pretty sure you will be tagged in it for sure. And again, congratulations on this, and hopefully we can work again in the future.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you guys soon. Peace. We are Built Better.